Hello and welcome back on my YouTube channel, Pardoshi Learning by Doing. So as you can already see the title of video, this is going to be another video on UiPath VB apps. In this video, we are going to deep dive into different types of variables that we have in UiPath apps. So we have all learned about the variable data types in UiPath Studio, and I think there are n number of variable types that we can create. But now in UiPath apps, we have the data types which are limited, but yet that serve the fundamental purpose of whatever we would be needing. So we are going to look into that as well. Now, I have created a simple app that has drop down, table, list, and some just labels as well, where you can see I'm displaying the date, I'm displaying the time or a random GUID number or something like that. Here we are populating the values and each of these things we are doing in different way. So we are going to see how we can work with different variable types in UiPath VB apps and how you can initialize them, how you can write the VB expressions that are needed to perform that operations. So we are going to deep dive into all that things. Now, we have many different variable types. As you can see, I've almost created 10 to 15 variable types. So to create an app variable, what you have to do is you have to click on plus. You have to see over here. There are so many different variables type that you can create. There is list, source, nullable, single, system, user, text, true, false, whole number, decimal, date only, choice set, and etc. Here in this video, I'm going to cover the fundamentals one which we can use in drop downs, tables, list, and all of them. But later we are going to deep dive into detailed videos as well about choice set, about apps file, and many different things. There are a lot of things that we are going to learn about in VB expression. So for now, we'll focus on the fundamental ones. All right. So now the very first we are going to see is a date time value. So now you can just simply use the same VB expressions that we use for datetime dot now dot toString. So as you can see the value over here, it will give me the date. So for this, you can create a variable, you can assign the value in that as well, or else you can perform some other operations as well. So that is how it happens. Now, Now, another use case for datetime value could be that, let's suppose you are having a drop down or you are having a text box that add number of days to calculate a due date. So basically you will add 5 days from current date. So today is 6 September, after 5 days, it will be 11 September and you get that value in this particular label. So for that kind of operations, you can have a text box on button click, check the due date, and we can create that kind of operations. The other one is date only. So to display only the date, you have to write syntax something like this. New system.date only. And the documentation is pretty much detailed. I will say, like, I myself implemented it. I implemented things looking from this particular documentation of UiPath app. So if you see a specific date without time, for example, new system.date only. So that is what we have over here. And if you see, we have the date defined over here. So this is like the basic data types that we use. Now the another one and a little different one is a GUID variable type. So this variable type is of system.GUID. Now, how do you assign the value to that? So it will just generate a random key or a random value. So for this, what I've done is on page load, I have created an event. So the syntax is very simple. Use a set value activity or a rule. In value, open the expression editor, and here you have to write GUID dot new GUID and just open close the parenthesis. Now, once you do that, this number will be auto generated. So if I run it the next time, so I hope the syntax is clear that it's just GUID dot new GUID. And if I preview it, so if you see, the another number is generated and it is visible over here. So that is how you can use a GUID type of variable. So previously it was different. We had a function to do that. But now you don't need to use function because you can just directly write the VB expression. So this is how you write the VB expressions. Now, that was about the date, time, and the GUID variable types. Coming to a dropdown. Now, many times you might not want to create a data service, but just add default values in the dropdown itself. Now, how you can do that? So we are going to see that particular thing. Now, every dropdown obviously needs a list source, and here is my source. Now, the syntax of converting any of your collection. Now, if you see your name as well, what I've given is collection data types. So my array is one of the collection data type. Now, here what we have done is we have used apps data source. So this is something that you have to use always, and this you are using to mention that you are creating a source of data for your app and from where you want to create that. So in bracket, then you specify that particular function. So this is to particularly specify that this is going to be your source of data from where. So you provide that particular variable in parentheses. Now, if you see here, I have written where array. Now to initialize the array, I think we have been doing this a lot in any of the operations that we do in UiPath Studio. This is something like the syntax is new string parentheses. Again, there are parentheses and we have hello comma world. Now, here what I have done is if I go to main page, if I go to event in edit row, again, I'm using set value and I'm setting the country's value over here. So where array is my variable that I've passed over here, where array, then new string, India, Australia, and Chicago. These are the three countries that I'm giving over here. All right, so you can provide any data. This is like randomly the data that I wanted to pass over here. So now once you assign the data over here, so this is how now I have basically we can say we have hard coded the values for an array within the app because I don't want to use data service. And I believe that these values are always going to be fixed. There is going to be no change within that. Now, when I come over here, this is how you can create that source of data. So it is app data source and it's pretty straightforward. Apps data source dot from off will come, you have to remove where array, and that's it. So this is how you create a drop down with default values in UiPath apps. Now here what I'm doing is whatever is selected over here, I want to display that value. So if I just preview this again, it is coming over India, Australia, right? So now what is the syntax for them? This syntax is pretty simple. You specify the page name, right? There will be errors, but yeah. Dot control name and dot property dot toString. So this is what you have to do. My page name is main page, control name is select country. I have given it a proper naming convention. Then selected item. So whichever property you want to select, now my property is selected item dot toString. This is the syntax that you have to use. Once you use that, you can play around with the values that you want to do. Maybe you want to filter some data based on drop-down selection. So yeah, that is the value. Now we are going to see another variable type that is going to be a list. Again, it is a list of string. Now in this, what we had done is on the page load, we have defaulted the values and we were passing the variable over here. Now in this case of product, I'm going to pass that same assignment of values, default values directly over here. So now let's see how that syntax happens. So it's app data source again from. Now the array variable, instead of that array variable, I'm defining a list of strings over here. So again, it is as similar to as what we do in UiPath Studio. New list of string from, specify whatever list items you want to, bracket close. And this is how you do it when you want to default the value. So The previous way that we saw of defaulting was by assigning it to a variable. Here you have assigned it to a control directly. So this is the format that you have to use, or the syntax that you have to use to do this particular thing. Now the similar thing you can pass in the table as well. Now if you see this list which is there, I can pass over here again app.data source from array. So whatever happens in drop down, then same can happen over here as well. Now let's use a label over here, and this is country list. So let's try and write some syntax. Main page dot country list dot selected item, like I said, dot toString. Okay, let's preview. So now what I'm doing is, initially I was displaying the value selected in drop down. Now I'm displaying the value selected in the other thing. So if I select Australia, it is here, Chicago, India. So this is how this is working. Now this was about the list variable and list control and all of that. Now we are going to understand something a little more complex. Okay. Now again, if I go to my page load, till now, previously, who have actively worked on apps and have idea about it, if we want to populate data into a data table, we and I want to populate default values. I don't even want to edit it, don't want to do anything. I just want to populate default values in my table. For that, you have to either run a process, get the output in data table, and show that data in the data table. Secondly, what you have to do is you have to either add the data into the data service entity, and then you have to map it over here. Now, since we have a variable type of data table, as you can see over here, where data table, I am going to create the data table in the app itself. I'm not going to call any process, nothing. I want default values, I can do that. And to do that particular operation, I've created a where data table, and I'm going to write this particular syntax. Let me, all right. So this is the syntax that you have to write. Build data table, new data table, give it a name, new data column, add your data column. This is a .NET syntax. You can consider that new data column, you are specifying it, new list of objects from, and you are adding the data over here. Now, these are my static values that I want to display. I don't want to run any process. I don't want to map any data service entity, nothing. I just want to display the default data. This I have copied the data from here and I have edited over here. I've just changed this to string, the data row, because I don't want to do anything as of now. And this is what you have to assign in your data table. Now this is okay. You got the code as well. You did the assignment. After that, when you come over here, in general, you have to write this particular syntax for data table. Where data table dot as enumerable dot to list source. As you see previously for dropdowns and all, we were specifying the app data source. Here you have to convert your data table into as enumerable, like you have to use the as enumerable and to list source. As you see, what data it expects is a list source of T of some type. So here we are specifying that. Now, once you do that, add the columns over here, give the column names. You will have to do it manually since the data table is hard coded. If it is coming from a process, it will take it automatically. But if it is not coming from a process, things are going to be different, right? So for that, what you have to do is you have to create two columns, right? Like I have two columns. That is the reason we are creating two columns. If we see over here, we have name and age column. So I've created name and age column and in the source. And these steps are only to be performed if your data table values are hard coded like I showed right now. So if the source is this, right? As you can see on my screen right now, and age. So age in source, what you have to do, name, obviously you are going to specify the name, the same column name. In source as well, you have to do the same thing. So it will automatically map the data table column with this particular column and show the values. Name can still be different, but the source should exactly be the same name of the column values that you want to display. Age is going to be age. Now, once you do that, you can show the default values that you have created in your app in a data table into this table directly, as you can see on my screen right now. Vaishali, Viswa, and the age is given over here. So this is how you use the data table variable. You can also write link queries. You can select the zeroth item or based on a particular condition or something like that. Like if I select male over here, this table should only display the data with gender as male or female or whatever it is. We are going to see that advanced functions as well. But this video was to help you understand how you can use different types of variables, how you can initialize them, how you can pass them to drop downs, to list, or to table for that scenario. So this is what you need to know about different type of app variables. We will deep dive into that. If you have any specific queries with respect to data type variables of UiPath apps or anything else in UiPath VB apps particularly, please do comment that, and I'll definitely try to make a video on that. So I hope this video helped you understand different types of variables that we have in UiPath apps, how we can initialize them, how we can utilize them, and how you can just start writing the VB expressions in VB apps. Because there are very less content on this right now, and sometimes documentation becomes difficult to read and understand as well, right? So this was a quick video. I think I wanted to make the video short, but considering the explanations that we have for all this thing, the video just got a bit long. But I hope it was a good detailed insight on different type of app variables and how to initialize them, perform different kind of operations. Thank you so much for watching the complete video. Please stay tuned. There will be more videos coming out soon on UiPath VB apps particularly, and the other latest features that are coming in VB apps. So thank you for watching the complete video. See you in the next video.